Hola todos! Welcome back to Spanish with Yashika. I hope all of you are doing great. For the viewers who are watching my video for the first time, I would request you to subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss any of my update. The topic that we are going to do today is very interesting. Genders of a noun. Does noun have a gender? If we are talking about the nouns in English, they don't have a gender, but they do have when we are talking about them in Spanish. I believe that it will be more evident with the example of this pink pen. This pink pen in Spanish is el bolígrafo rosado. Despite of being pink in color, it is masculine. With this, I just want to clear this fact that it has nothing to do with the girly or the manly aspect. It completely depends upon the endings of the noun. As all of you can see, I have shortlisted some of the rules on the board. I will be mentioning two examples of each rule. And like a coin has two sides, every rule has some exceptions. I will be mentioning one example as an exception as well. Let's start. Starting with the rule number 1, it says noun which ends with O is probably masculine. Por ejemplo, el teatro, el dormitorio. The exception to this rule is la foto. Rule number 2, it says noun which ends with A is probably feminine. Por ejemplo, la piscina, la rosa. The exception to this rule is el mapa. Rule number 3, it says noun which ends with D is probably feminine. Por ejemplo, la ciudad, la felicidad. The exception el abad. Rule number 4, it says noun which ends with E could be masculine or feminine. Por ejemplo, el restaurante, la carne. Further, the E ending nouns are divided into one more part which says noun which ends with ache are masculine. Por ejemplo, el viaje, el paisaje. Rule number 5, it says nouns which end with el is probably masculine. Por ejemplo, el animal, el hospital. The exception la sal. Rule number 6, it says noun which ends with N, R and S are probably masculines. Let us take the example of the first alphabet which is mentioned in this rule, which is N. The examples: los ejemplos, el botón, el tren. The exception to this alphabet is la imagen. N ending nouns are further bifurcated into one more part which says the noun which ends with ion are probably feminine. Por ejemplo, la opinión. The next alphabet of this rule is R. It says noun which ends with R are probably masculine. Por ejemplo, el amor, el color. The exception la flor. The last alphabet of this rule is S. It says the noun which ends with S is probably masculine. Por ejemplo, el estrés, el interés. The exception la tos. Rule number 7, it says noun which ends with Z is probably feminine. Por ejemplo, la luz, la paz. The exception, el arroz. Now it's time for the last rule, which is rule number 8. It says noun which ends in vowel and has an accent mark, which is also known as tilde, is probably masculine. Por ejemplo, el té, el champú. Now it's time for Yashika's insights, which is 2 new verbs in a day. Considering the topics that we covered in today's video, I believe that verb number 1 should be identificar, which means to identify, and word number 2 should be sigue las instrucciones, which means follow the instructions or rules. I hope the video was useful for each one of you, and if you don't want to miss any of my update, you know the drill. Like, share, comment, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Adios.